A lot of the time I wondered why I got into this field. When you decide your passion is marine biology, you picture a lot of things. Grand discoveries, new species, exotic laboratories, and of course, all the scientific praise that comes with it. But this, stuck 4 kilometers below sea level, in an apartment-sized tank, it's not exactly what I had in mind. Every day, I stared out into the deep, black nothingness, so thick it seemed almost like a sludge. The light did not reach us, so sadly, there wasn't much of a view. Down here, we were part of a new exploration effort on behalf of the CSIRO, Expedition 142A, dubbed by most as the Death Drop, due to the sheer cliff we were suspended on. 4 kilometers down, in the newly discovered Acheron Trench, tethered to one of its outcrops. Brand new advancements in technology had given us the opportunity to construct this thing. 80 square meters of reinforced titanium, fiberglass, and some other alloys I didn't really understand. Either way, it's designed to withstand upwards of 8,000 cubic meters of water pressure, and its anchors are drilled further down to keep it from swaying with the current. In truth, it's a pretty impressive construction. But you kind of lose sight of that when you spend so much time inside it, with only 3 other people for company. Jones, Agabi and McCoy, all from various researching backgrounds. We worked alternating shifts, and that meant 2 on the day shift, 2 on the night. It wasn't so bad. We switched people a lot so the different pairs didn't get too sick of each other. One of us took control of the drone. The other kept track of the audio waves. It had been part of our routine. Our repetitive routine. We'd only been down here 2 weeks, but had made at least a couple of interesting discoveries. Mapped a couple of brine pools, documented some new types of sea cucumber, and even one day, found a crisp packet. Sadly, only McCoy was surprised. The highlights of our time were when our roving spotlights picked up a squid or some other cephalopod. Not discoveries in themselves, but decent gaps in the monotony. We made it work either way. With all that being said, I'll never forget that moment. It was a split second of sheer terror that shattered the mired tranquility we had achieved. See, as well as our drone and seismic monitors, we had our radio consistently on so that no communications were unheard. This one, we didn't miss. It crackled, as it usually did, before a voice was heard.
What are you?
Everyone on duty practically recoiled in their chair as McCoy bolted into the crew quarters to wake Jones and Agabi. I bolted towards the comms desk and gripped the microphone, scrambling clumsily to get my headphones on. I glanced towards the crew quarters to see Agabi, McCoy and Jones stumbling into the room with enraptured looks on their faces. Following protocol, I spoke into the mouthpiece. Syro Research Station, Acheron 1. Please repeat. Over. A deafening silence accompanied by the faint radio crackle followed. In reality, it probably only lasted 20 seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Affirmative. This is Syro Research Station, Acheron 1. Please identify yourself. Over. Another silence settled upon the room before Agabi cried out, observing that in our rush to respond to the signal, we had left the drone unmanned. McCoy ran over, taking the controls and attempting to force it back to base, but was greeted by one error. Camera feed inoperative. We were terrified. These cameras were designed to withstand incredible pressure and exertion, and were capable of retaining transmission for distances of up to an extra kilometre in any direction. What could possibly have thrown it off? We toiled for hours, trying to get the feed back on, and running the base's external scanners through the ringer, if only to get a visual on what was going on. The scanners picked up what they always did: microscopic life readings and pitch blackness. It was then that we heard a sound that we never should. Not in a million years. A knock at the door. 3 loud thumps upon the base's cold metal exterior. We all jumped, stunned by the impossible sound, glancing at one another as if to ask, who's going to answer it first? Finally, I got up and slowly walked down the corridor towards the exit. Hello? Even from the hall, I could hear the radio crackle to life once again. I pushed the latch aside and slid open the window cover, turning the exterior lights on as I did. I hurriedly called everyone over to see what I could see. The mangled wreck of our drone, neatly placed on the edge of our outcrop. It sparked and flickered as its shattered hull flaked off into the endless dark. We all stared, slack-jawed, unable to comprehend what we saw. Agabi slumped his back against the wall, sliding down to sit with a thud. He ran his hands across his head, sighing. Everyone else staggered back, panicked. It was time to get help. I ran to the radio, tuned it to the headquarters frequency, and immediately began the standard distress call. Mayday, Mayday. This is Syro Research Station Acheron 1, requesting immediate evacuation. Repeat, immediate evacuation. Do you copy? Over. There was a pause, and then...
Station on 1. Do you copy? Over.
The voice sounded familiar, but it was hard to make out through the static.
Acheron 1. Do you copy? Over.
Yes, we copy. Requesting immediate evacuation. An environmental hazard has destroyed our drone. Over.
Destroyed our drone.
Headquarters.
Please repeat. Over.
I responded.
Danger on 1.
My eyes widened as my grip loosened on the mouthpiece, and I realized the horrible truth. It was my voice. My own voice, speaking back to me from the other end of the radio.
Danger on 1. Drone. Destroyed our drone.
Another pause. We all huddled around the radio, with breath bated.
You should not have come so deep.
The base shuddered, almost swaying on its axis, sending equipment flying across the room as we tried as hard as we could to stay on our feet. Eventually, we were all flung to the floor, trembling and terrified, too weak to stand. When everything went quiet, was it over? I remember getting ready to breathe a sigh of relief before the lights went out. Though we claimed to be rational scientists, unafraid of the unknown, we screamed. We had to. We didn't know what else to do. Moments later, there was once again light in the room, but it hadn't come from any of the fluorescents. It was a blinding emerald sheen, and in the moment, I expected some immense serpentine leviathan, a great monster to swallow us up. Despite how many times I told myself that was ridiculous. What I saw, though, was beyond any of our understanding. It was a man, or at least it had the shape of one. It must have been hundreds of meters tall, as it seemed to stand quite comfortably in the depths, beyond the outcrop, with only its head and shoulders visible. It was mostly translucent and had no apparent texture to its skin. It was like an immense, glowing phantom. The radio flickered to life again.
Do not return.
It lifted a mighty webbed humanoid hand, placing it gently on the outcrop with a startling crash, sending piles of rocks hurtling back into the abyss. Steadying itself, it grabbed the entire base with ease, obscuring our view with its titanic palm. And that is the last that I remember. The next point in my memory was us waking up in the wreckage of Acheron 1 on the shores of Tasmania. Puzzled locals asked us questions that we could not answer. The shock was too great, and our confusion surpassed it. Once we got back to headquarters, our superiors asked us innumerable questions. What was it? What happened? Where did it come from? Why didn't you detect it? The truth is, we had no idea. And as men who had dedicated their lives to science and marine exploration, we felt embarrassment and confusion. After that incident, it didn't take me long to leave the organization. I just couldn't take the prospect of being down there again. I don't know if what we encountered was benevolent or divine or any other number of things. those that went back to the site to check found nothing but wreckage, and the outcrop we were positioned on had been crushed into rubble. I know now, for a fact, that it is not us that are studying the oceans. The oceans are studying us.